Welcome to the Future 3 podcast. Boom, 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 boom. I'm Sean,
I'm Shaylin.
and we are the Future 3, well, now Future 2 podcast, since our little brother Sign actually, unfortunately, couldn't make it, but that's all good. Okay, so think about this for a second. Every major company in this world is competing for one thing right now, and that is talent. And the ones winning the competition aren't just offering better salaries, they're telling better stories. Today's guest built that platform that the world's biggest enterprises do exactly that. He is the CEO of Cliquify, former vice president of human resources at Unisys, an early career veteran at IBM, a Forbes Human Resources Council member, and someone who has spent decades at the intersection of people, technology, and business. Please welcome to the Future 3 podcast, Mr. Amit Parmar. Ooh.
Wow, thank you. Thank you both so much. I am delighted to be here, honored to be on this podcast and equally excited. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad to learn about your story. I've heard some great things about you.
Yeah.
Likewise, I've heard a lot of things about this podcast and I was listening to a few episodes coming in. It's
Oh,
just an
nice.
amazing thing you guys are doing for your audience.
Really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you
that.
so much. All right. So before we rewind the tape, we always have to kick things off with a little bit of fun. You've spent your career helping companies tell better stories about themselves. So let's flip it on you. If someone had to write a one-sentence headline about you for a major magazine cover, what would you want it to say, and what headline would you be terrified to see?
That's a great question. So I'd say, look, ultimately, I'm a connector. I like to
Yeah.
connect people to deeper purpose and meaning in life and work in general. So, I could be doing a better job at that myself, but to the extent I can help people, that's who I really am at the core. From a business standpoint, it's really about, as you indicated, like how do we enable companies and people to connect at a deeper level through storytelling.
Yeah.
And that's my passion. And that's why we built Clickify. What would I not, want to be known for, is somebody who's like a straight up CEO, right?
Yeah.
There's just so much humanity still left in this world that certain CEOs, like when the title comes about, it's all about like, the profits, which is important. Don't get me wrong, but the humanity kind of is driven out the door to the extent you're driven by Wall Street, right? So that's something I
Yeah.
would not for.
Yeah, I like that one because it's more about the deeper meaning, like creating connections not just on the plain surface level, which I really like about that. But
Yeah.
last one before we get into it, IBM, Unisys, Clickify. Those are three completely different worlds. So if you had to describe each chapter of your career in just one word per chapter, what would those three words be? Let's start with IBM.
Oh wow. With IBM, I would say if it was one word, it was all about learning. It was earlier in my career. I started there when I was 22 years old.
Oh, wow.
I was there a few years. Unisys was a great organization as well. That was kind of in my mid-career journey. So it was all about like how do you develop leadership capabilities as I started to take on responsibilities. So I would, one word for Unisys would be leadership.
Nice.
And then Clickify would be innovation, right? So left Unisys to build this platform. It was all about innovating and really changing how companies think about talent and how they connect with talent at a deeper level.
It's crazy because every different company clearly had a very different impact on your journey, but at the end, they all connected together to create this one big picture of you as a person.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And look, we spend a lot of time at work, right? Money's important, don't get me wrong, but there's a balance with like the passion that you have and the money you make, and there's always that trade-off that you make over the years.
Yeah, you gotta love what you do. You gotta find that passion in you, right?
Yeah, yeah. And look, sometimes like, going to work is not fun, right? And
Yeah.
But if you take a look at your 30-year kind of span of working, hopefully your trajectory is up in terms of how you feel about working. Yeah.
Yeah. Those 30 years must have flew by for you.
Yeah, look, when you're having fun, it's definitely fast. It's almost like, having a child, right? Like the time just goes by so fast. And you look back and you're like, "Oh my God." But for me, it's just really about like the legacy that we'll leave behind, right? So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And you know, finding your passion and what you really truly want to do is something that we're definitely going to discuss later. But I want to take it all the way back here. Before any of this, there was high school. And from you, we do not want the highlight reel version. We want the real stuff.
Mm.
So,
yeah.
I mean, what kind of student actually were you? And was there anything in your personality that maybe hinted to the person that you would become eventually, like today, professionally?
Man, such a great question. So I moved to, typical immigrant story, moved to the US, born in India, moved here when I was 11 to actually Central Jersey, so not too far from where y'all are.
Yeah.
And I will say I'm not the smartest of the bunch, right? Like for me, being at high school, I had to work hard. Yeah. I was probably, really the one who never really understood the concepts, but then I came back home and I just kept at it, right?
Yeah.
To really understand it. And for me, I learned very early on in my high school was like, look, I'm not the smartest, but I'm going to work the hardest, yeah, to figure it out, yeah. And that, to be honest, like that's what shaped me, to be doing what I'm doing today and throughout my career is, nobody really has all the answers, right?
Mhm.
Not even the smartest person in the room, but it's really about just saying, all right, you know what, I can figure this out, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share this one thing with you. So this is one of my former bosses, who's a mentor of mine. He came into my office one day with this. And so it was like, what does that mean? Right. So, for me, it was all about like, hey, if there's a problem and nobody knows the answer, like I was always the one like just raising my hand and saying, hey, I don't know the answer to this, but I'll figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think leaders value that in people.
Exactly. And I want to talk about something that we talk about on this podcast quite a bit because a lot of teenagers are told one line that we just discussed, kind of, sort of. They're told to follow their passion. But the problem is that a lot of teens, including us sometimes, don't even know what our real passion is. So back in high school, did you already know what your true passion was, or were you still were you that kid that was kind of taking it day by day, step by step, just trying to see where the wind takes you kind of thing?
Yeah, look, I gotta tell you, I'm 46 years old, and I feel like I've just discovered my passion.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's you won't always. I think your passion also changes, right? Like you might be
Yeah.
passionate about something right now. 2 years later, you might say, you know what, I'm not passionate about this anymore. So you kind of evolve. A lot of life is actually trial and error, right?
Mhm.
You say, hey, you know what? I want to be a doctor. Well, I took a couple of, biology or biochemistry classes and I hated it. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, do I really see myself being a doctor? I don't know. Right. So I think the best advice I would have is don't panic when you don't know what your passion is. I think eventually you will find out if you do enough trial and error. Like the big thing that I always tell anyone I speak with, including my employees, is like try it out. Right.
Yeah.
If you're not, if you're not techie, because we're a technology company, try
Mhm.
out sales and see how you do, or try out customer success and see how you do, if you like it or not, right?
Yeah.
And that will continue to be the journey. There are very few people whose passion remains the same from like high school all the way through to, they're deep in their careers.
Mhm.
So that's the only advice I would have for your listeners is experiment, experiment, experiment until you really find something that like truly makes you happy and pays your bills because you have to have kind of both, right? So
Yeah. I feel like the trial and error aspect that you were just talking about, it kind of relates to food and your taste buds because, like, it changes every 7 years, your taste buds. And so I remember this one time I was eating Brussels sprouts at I don't even know what age. I was very young. I
I hate.
hated the taste. Like I absolutely despised it. It tasted disgusting. But now, as my taste buds like evolved and trial and error with other foods, I kind of I don't want to say I enjoy Brussels sprouts because I
Mm-mm.
still
Nope.
it's I feel like it's gotten a little bit better, at least.
Yeah.
And that kind of relates to what you were talking about finding your passion because you have to try different things. Like you can't just stick well, a lot of people just don't stick with one thing for so long. Like it's going to obviously change.
Wait. Hold on. Where did you get that fact about the whole 7 years thing? I never heard that in my life.
Oh, I learned it a few years ago in
Yeah,
Seventh
that's
grade
pretty
science.
ago?
cool.
In
I didn't know
science.
about
Yeah,
that either. That's
I
pretty
never
cool.
heard
I
about
actually
that.
learned that in science class in like 7th grade, I guess.
That's crazy. I forgot who my 7th grade science teacher even was.
Really?
Hey,
So,
look, and you will, yeah, that's a key point, right? Like you're gonna come across subjects or areas, you're gonna come across people, teachers or mentors or coaches or even like, sports coaches. They're gonna have a deep impact on kind of your trajectory, right? I remember, in high school, I had an English teacher, and English wasn't even like, coming from India, English wasn't like top of mind for me. I was great at math, and it was all about like STEM kind of, courses that
Yeah.
parents kind of drill in you, right? But my English teacher was phenomenal, and her name was Vela Smith. I still remember her in eighth grade.
awesome.
She's unfortunately no longer. But really, she drove passion inside me about English and how you tell stories and actually a lot of the concepts that I learned in seventh grade are actually still true with what we do today.
Yeah, our parents always praise how important telling stories are to others.
Absolutely, we're human nature in our DNA. We are genetically predisposed to stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
The moment you're born, everybody, starts out with like storybooks. And even as adults, right? Like if you're building a PowerPoint presentation, and if there's no story with that, you're gonna, you might be communicating, but you're not gonna be impacting decision making.
Hmm.
Exactly.
All right. So now you're studying nuclear medical technology at the University of Sciences in Philadelphia. That's a pretty specific field. Then, somewhere along that journey, you pivot completely and go to Rutgers for a master's in human resources. What? Let's talk. Let's talk about that transition real
Oh
quick.
man, I was lost. I was lost. Okay. Now yeah, so yeah, of course, right? And going back to like you got to try different things. When I was doing undergrad, it was, I was kind of on the medicine track. Like I was gonna, probably go to med school, like every other Asian kid does. I graduated, worked at Johnson and Johnson as my first job, and I got to be honest, look, as great as a company it is, I just didn't see myself in a laboratory. And so my boss at the time, Chris Slakta, again, another influencer of kind of my trajectory, he said, "Hey, Amit, like J&J will pay for your master's degree. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Hell yeah! Like if somebody's paying for my degree, I'm in, right?"
That's great.
So he's like, "Hey, someday I could see you running this lab, so you should go get some, business classes." And honestly, one of the electives was HR in my master's program. So I'm like, you know what? This is very interesting. So I took one class within the curriculum, loved it, and that kind of followed my journey into human resources, and the rest is history. Like I'm so grateful I kind of followed that track. So.
Yeah, you have a great memory with teachers.
Yeah, you're like my dad.
Yeah, teachers have a huge influence and
Yeah.
and me and coaches, mentors. Yeah, they're very powerful figures in our life. So
A lot of students in high school actually think that college is just about the degree, but there's also internships, jobs, and uncomfortable experiences. And that is where something different gets built inside of you. What experiences outside the classroom had the biggest impact on how you show up professionally today?
Oh wow. Look, I'm a big believer in like physically going to like higher education as opposed to these online classes.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of that for me is the soft skills that you develop, interacting with, people, communication skills, project based work. You can do it online, but it's not the same. You have to like work with different personalities, and how do you achieve that, right? Because the goal isn't always like the perfect output. The goal is how do you really work together to achieve something together. And I think a lot of students, generally tend to miss that because they're going for that A grade, which there's nothing wrong with that, right? I think we should all strive for the A grade,
Hmm.
but really, you got to take a step back and say, hey, are you happy with a B? So long as I was a team player, so long as I learned how to communicate, right? That's the journey is what's most important as opposed to the result, which I know we're such a results driven society, but I would hire I would hire a team player who got a B grade versus a non-team player who got an A grade.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think
Is
I'd see that.
is that kind of what most top companies are looking for when they're hiring?
Look, my personal view is, and of course, when I would be hiring myself, I think there is in the age of AI, these personable skills, the soft we call the soft or power skills, like communication, teamwork, collaboration, which is kind of like teamwork, curiosity. Like these are things that AI will never really get to experience or learn, right?
Yeah.
In order for you to like separate yourself from a machine, you're gonna have to go back to your core, the human skills that are going to be super important.
Yeah, because I feel like if I get a call from a robot, like just like saying like, "Hello, Shaylin, this is robot from Walmart. Do you want to buy something from?" I'd hang up. I
Yeah.
just it's weird because especially now, it's like robots sound like humans, right? Especially
Mhm.
with the AI and all this, like robots literally sound like humans. But I feel like I'd be able to understand if it was a real person versus a robot because of the connection they'd be able to build. Like they'd be able to spot similarities between our interests and like kind of be able to create conversation, create trust. I feel like is that why like you feel like hiring a human over a robot to do something like sales is so much better?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there are elements of the sales process that you can outsource to a robot, like
Mhm.
scheduling a meeting. But I do see, I definitely see humans being so much better at relationship building than robots will ever be.
AI is just gonna agree with everything you say, especially if it's
I know.
ChatGPT nowadays.
Yeah, look, AI has its place.
Yeah.
It's getting stronger by the day. It's driving, people. There's so much input that goes into it. I do think in the future, companies will look for people who are very comfortable using AI, but at the same time, those who can connect with people, who can collaborate, communicate, deliver products or services, you
Mhm.
know, working in teams. That's going to be the future.
Yeah. For sure. And now I want to kind of move forward from college and let's just talk about your career, the full arc, because it's a pretty compelling one. You go from IBM to VP of HR at Unisys to finding Cliquify. So, I mean, every move required something different from you, whether it was in you as a person or you as a professional. So, I mean, what did those early years actually teach you about how large organizations and large companies actually work? And how did that shape how you view leadership in today's world?
Yeah, great question. Look, I've been fortunate. Sometimes you get lucky, yeah. But you got to have luck and kind of that grit and the mindset to just go after things, right? Even if you don't know something. So I think it's a combination of both. But really, I've learned so much in corporate America, in global roles, different cultures around the world. I've had teams all over the world. So I've learned a great deal in corporate America, and I'm to which I'm very thankful. I will say, when I turned 40, so Clickify has been in business almost a little over 5 years now. Yeah.
Nice.
When I turned 40, call it midlife crisis or whatever you want to call it, but I had this itch to like reinvent, and I found this major gap looking forward, and in a very futuristic way. And I immediately saw this opportunity that companies are quickly becoming transactional with their people. And when I say transactional, it's like, okay, hire and fire, hire and fire, hire and fire. And I think it's only going to get worse over the years. And so that's what gave us the idea to create Cliquify. And then we tested it, right? So we weren't naive to say, hey, we're going to build this thing and people will just come. We built it, we tested it with my colleagues. So networks are huge, right?
Yeah.
So, I reached out to my network, and these are VPs of talent at, SAP, Oracle, gosh, you name it, Intuit, right? They're all these companies. And I just honestly just reached out to them and say, hey, I'm thinking about this platform. It's my hypothesis. Like, what do you think? And they all gave me amazing feedback. But if it wasn't for the corporate experience, I probably wouldn't have even gone through that process, right?
Hmm.
And so it enabled me to really think about startups very differently. And here we are, right? Like,
Yeah, and I have a class in school that's called entrepreneurship. And I just love the mindset that entrepreneurs have. And I was learning in school that before you come up with an idea, you have to really listen and observe to others, because that's really where the ideas come from. Because if your friend is talking about a problem that's happening, like I was watching a movie in that class of how Mark Zuckerberg founded Facebook, and his friend was complaining like, why can't I see what all my friends are doing? And
yeah,
then he just came up with an idea and just went with it and ran with it. So I just love the mindset that you guys have.
yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, you got to have that. Look, you got to have that mindset, startup or not. I mean, you could be in a corporate world and still have the same mindset, but you can still have this mindset in a corporate world as well, where you're thinking about a problem statement. And then you're just, it's science actually, right? Like you're going hypothesizing it, you're creating a hypothesis, and then you're validating that hypothesis. And you build something, and then you put it out in the market, or you bring it to your department, and then they say, "Yeah, this is not what I had in mind." Then you go back, right? Like it's an iterative process, right? So, and I think it happens startup or not, Sean.
Yeah, there you go. Everything connects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of everything connecting, you obviously went from three different places. Well, I want to talk about those three different places, from IBM to Unisys to now Cliquify. So that's two different transitions. So I'm curious, which transition was the hardest for you? And what did that difficult transition help you learn about yourself that maybe you didn't know so much about in the moment?
Yeah, I would say the roughest one was building this startup, because when you have like backing of an organization like an IBM or Unisys, everybody wants to talk to you. But when you leave all of that, you almost lose a little bit of your identity, believe it or not. So now it's like, oh, Amit's the CEO of Cliquify. Like, what's Cliquify? Like, who is this? Right? So all of a sudden, you're basically starting zero, right? And that transition, I would say 5 years ago, and I'm still going through it, but it was the roughest. And I will say, I'm just grateful for my family. They've been, through and through, just with me, and that's super important. Right. So if it wasn't for them, I probably would have been back to corporate. And it is the harsh reality of life. But generally speaking, my biggest kind of shock was, when I was VP, I would be asked to speak at like these major conferences for free, right? And the moment I started my own company, it's like, oh, Amit, do you want to speak? It's going to be $40,000,
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
right? And I'm like, I haven't changed. My experience hasn't changed. I haven't changed as a person, except I'm no longer affiliated with IBM or Unisys, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest, like I take that with a chip on my shoulder going forward. Now it's like, all right, you know what? Fine. If you want to play that game, I'm gonna build my own conferences.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
love that. That's that motivating factor right there. The hit, like that's exactly where how what we just discussed about how the adversity shapes you as a person, because you were faced with that adversity of now having to pay to actually go speak instead of being invited for free. So I mean that kind of taught you about who you are and how you could just fight back with that might.
Why would they want you to pay? You're the VP of miscellaneous stuff.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I should just bring this with me
Next time,
everywhere.
just tell them that, and you should be good. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nowadays, most people that are working kind of see AI as a threat, but it's the founders that see it as kind of a signal to kind of use it to their advantage to kind of, upscale. So, I mean, what's one shift happening in your industry today? And I mean, right now with AI that every student in the audience needs to know about?
Yeah, I would say the biggest shift is how fast AI is learning to be human. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate it. And so stay on top of it. Like, so, the advice I would have for everybody, right? Not just your audience, but frankly, folks who are even working today, like in corporate America, is get comfortable with AI. It's not going anywhere. Get comfortable with AI, learn as much as you can every single day, like sign up with like newsletters that just pop in your inbox, right? I do that. Like I'm subscribed to all these like AI news channels, and there's just so much amazing content that's out there that you can continue to kind of learn from.
Yeah, my uncle is always sending me AI articles, and I sometimes read them like
Yeah.
once in a while.
Yeah, and it's fine. Like I would say, build a cadence, like 30 minutes a week. Just learn what's happening in the world of AI.
Yeah, I mean, and now while we're talking about your whole journey and your whole career, I mean, I have one last question for you before we flip the tables for you to ask us some questions for a little change of pace. But
Yeah.
so what is your definition of success today, and how has it changed from your high school days all the way to today?
Your definition of success changes with every kind of, you know, milestone that you hit. Yeah. So for me, when I was in high school, my definition of success was like, hey, I need to make sure I, maintain above a 3.5 GPA to get into a college. That was success for me back then. I graduated, then my definition of success changed, right? Like, okay, I got to now graduate and get a nice job, right?
Mhm.
Right. So it'll change, but I think one thing that's constant is time. There's one thing in this world that people simply can't get back. You can buy anything in this world except time. Yeah. So if you're able to build a solution or a service that saves people time, that's golden.
I'll never forget Mark Cuban. There was some video about him or something about how he spent his first million or $1 billion. And the first thing he did, he said, was he bought a private jet because, not because just to be flashy, but because of how much time it saves him. And that speaks to your point of how valuable time is, because time is your most valuable asset. It's just about what you do with that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Money, yeah, money is the means for you to have more time.
Exactly.
Mhm. I was just thinking about that quote right there.
It lives
Like,
in the back of my brain, quite literally.
Time is your most valuable asset, guys.
it
Don't
is.
forget.
It is.
All right. So now it's time that we turn the tables. It's been a pleasure to ask you questions, but now we're giving a chance for you to ask us some questions.
Yeah, I appreciate this so much, guys. First of all, I'm very impressed by what you guys are doing with this and this channel that you've created. So I'll start with, and either of you can answer this question, or both of you actually, is, on this podcast. So why did you guys build it? And what's the end kind of goal with future?
I
So,
mean, oh,
really, we're just trying to help others, not only ourselves, but others, like our audience, trying to find out what they actually want to do. Because right now, we're talking to so many people. Like, for you, example, you've been through so much in your career, and we just really want to tell our audience also how you actually get to where you want to be. It's not just like a straight line, as you said. Obviously, things change, it's a squiggly line.
and also, like as we discussed earlier, a lot of teens are told nowadays to just follow your passion, but the reality is most teens don't really know like what is your passion. So I mean, hopefully through talking to all these different professionals from different fields, different industries, our audience will be able to kind of open their mind and keep an open mind to the different things out there, and hopefully explore or even reach out and just try to learn more about the different things that they're learning about.
It's such a great point. One advice I would have for your audience is the working world is vast, so it's hard to like say, okay, I'm going to try out everything, right? But even if you have like an inkling, like if you want to be in like entrepreneurship or business, just like how you guys are doing, like reach out to somebody like who who's an entrepreneur and find out like the good, bad, and the ugly, right? Like interview them like you guys are doing. So this is a perfect platform.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, an amazing journey. Not only the journey, but an amazing story that you've told us. And that goes back to storytelling, what you actually do. So, I just
Yeah.
want to end off by saying thank you. We really appreciated having you on this podcast.
Well, thank you guys, and I'm always here for you and whatever you need to support your audience. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Okay. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, LinkedIn, basically all social media platforms. We are the Future 3 Podcast, and we out.
Peace.
Peace.